Greetings, Keishlings. Keishan Prime here with another One Punch Man Power Up video. Today we are doing Genos, aka the Demon Cyborg S-Class Rank 14 Hero. Let's go. With all my Power Up videos, I do equipment, general Power Up concepts, super moves, that kind of thing. And I thought this was a good time to do Genos again because as of chapter 119, he's back in the story. Probably going to see him for at least another chapter or so. Especially after his, dynamic entry and like trying to get a grasp on what the situation is. So I imagine he'll be a bit more of an active character for a short time. So, yeah. To kick this off, we'll be doing equipment, and the first is an electric generator. And you're probably thinking, hey Keishan, you dupe, he's already got an electric power source, his power core. And it's like, fair to you, but that powers him, like his basic functions and all that kind of stuff, and some of his weaponry, most of his weaponry. But this is more dedicated for other purposes. The three main purposes being another offensive method, a capture method, and medical aid methods. The offensive methods I will will go to those later. But capture methods, like you paralyze somebody, like a fleshy monster, and you disable them for a time and then you can capture them. And then that also goes into like interrogation methods and such, where it's like you've disabled them but they're able to maybe still communicate in some way. You get information out of them. He could easily do this while he goes into the monster association, where he sees a monster, zap, and then there you go. And the electric generator is really useful because if he can turn his body into like a giant electromagnet, because he's mostly metal, this makes it easier to disable like robotic enemies as well, like EMPs or electromagnetism, and then he can like slam them into walls like Magneto, or just crush them until there's nothing but a head, and it's like, all right, I'll talk, or something like that. And then there is medical aid. Genos is a hero, and he's well liked by many people. Well, given that monster attacks are so prevalent in the One Punch universe, it would make sense that some people would go into panic attacks, and older people would possibly go into cardiac arrest from heart attacks of a, surprise monster attack in their neighborhood. So, say 50-year-old man just had a heart attack. Genos could be like, I know what to do. I have scanned his vitals. And it's like, I will take care of him. Be calm, citizens. And it's like, and then clear, and then defibrillator style resuscitates them, and then maybe gets them to a more capable method of transport to a hospital, things like that. So all around good guy and good use of the electric generator. Next up is the spear arm. This is kind of a continuation of the last video where I gave him like an interchangeable part system, like say a certain arm has like a special weapon built into it, or like a set of arms, or the whole body, or the legs, things like that. This would be an arm, or maybe a dual arm system where he now has like a giant spear-like spike that comes out of his arm. Think like Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist, or this weird thing I found on Amazon, and I'm thinking, this is a thing? And it's like, so yeah, simple like piercing weapon. I'll get more to what it's capable of in the future, or in later in this video, so stay tuned. But yeah, next up is something that's based on an idea that's been circulating around in the fandom for I couldn't tell you how long. It is the Elder Centipede armor or Elder Centipede body. Um, Basically, ever since Murata like started like doing his little live streams of drawing the chapters and everything, people would question and ask, and he would give some vague answers, some more definitive. He was doing it on his own, so he didn't have the one, or he didn't have one's input on should I be telling certain things. And he kind of like said, no, Genos did not use any of the like leftover components of Elder Centipede, all that kind of stuff. But I thought, what if he did, I mean, when you think of how big Elder Centipede is, and the fact that he is a centipede, and what mostly was left over after Saitama's punch on him were portions of his legs. Now, be it we didn't see that many of them, but they are like, there's like upwards to 10 of them that we see on screen. And I thought, okay, these things are roughly at least 4 to 6 feet long, given the characters that are in the background. And if they, you scale them up to about the size, and these things are somewhat submerged in the ground, it would make sense that he would have ample materials to give to Dr. Kuseno to make like a powered up armor. And I envision it to be looking very stylized like Elder Centipede himself. So you've got like super durable armor, like capabilities of making like piercing weapons from the, styled like the mandibles and whatnot. And also just to kind of keep with like insect theming, you go for like these antenna things. Be it maybe they're just purely cosmetic, because Dr. Kuseno is like, I think people will like them. It's like, I don't know, but okay. But what if they have like special sensors built into them? Because that's what antennas are to an insect. They have like extra sensory abilities, especially if you're a monster and insect and whatnot. You're probably sensory capabilities through the roof. So I could see this as being like an extension of his detection, capabilities, but on maybe a different level. So yeah, durable, good attack boost, and it would just be fun to finally, do something with a fan theory. Next up is the nanite hive body, or the highly or high tech integrated or interconnected versatile entities. It's a body of nanites or nanobots. So his whole body would be composed of like this massive colony of nanobots, and it would give him the boons of regeneration because, you like his arm gets blasted off. Well, he sends out some of the nanobots, they go recollect the arm, if it's still usable, reconnect it, there you go, back into the fight. Or if it gets completely disintegrated, they can then he'll send them out, they'll grab like, say, a car, break it down and make a usable arm that, has some low-grade weaponry durability, enough to keep him in the fight. And also the possibility of making weapons. Like I said, like they could recreate his current weapons, but why not expand, like, say if he wants a piercing weapon, or like he wants to make a javelin or something, it could work that way as well. And then, of course, being how small they are, they would make for perfect spies, and he could send out them throughout all the various cities to get news updates and keep tabs on monsters as they're starting to move around the cities before they start attacking people, and then he can get there in a flash. Next up is a variant of this called the flowing metal body. This is a body of liquid metal, taking basically all the concepts of the previous one, but going a little bit more interesting with it. So basically just think the T-1000, so anything it could do, Genos could do. So like I said before, body generation, weapon generation, and then mimicry. Like the body generation would work, like say he gets shot full of holes like the T-1000 did, he could just heal the wounds. The weapon generation, like the spear I mentioned, we actually see that in the movie. So he could just make weapons willy nilly. And then mimicry, we saw it like replicate humans that so that it went undetected by the protagonist. Well, Genos could do that, but in the reverse of so that the villains and monsters don't know that he's there. And, like he just looks like a dude going to work one day and it's like, haha, there's no heroes in this area, let's wreak havoc. And then he's like, nope. Like the newspaper goes down and then, something like that. That could be funny. But also just like I said, regenning, all that stuff, it just would be on a higher level. The one downside I see with this is that he can't do like squeezing through tight areas because of his brain, but I figure he can also kind of like dive, avoid like headshots because he'll move like his brain somewhere else in his body and it'll be free flowing and you never know where it is. So it's the only organic part about him, and if it's damaged, well, he's probably a goner. So this would be a way around like keeping him on the up and up for future endeavors. And then final piece of equipment is the flowing metal hive body. This is basically just combining the two previous ideas all together. So we have liquid metal nanites and nanobots, where his whole body is just this living organism of circuitry, basically. And it would be awesome and creepy because it's like, oh, the robot has crawling skin, kind of deal. But the same thing applies to like all that's mentioned before, the generation or the regeneration, the weapon generation, the mimicry, the scouting possibilities, the spying, all that stuff. But yeah, so it would just be more advanced. Also, cloning. More on that later. Next up is the general power-ups segment. And I have two ideas for this one. The first is synth skin, or synthetic skin. Basically, this whole idea formed from a animation error that was pointed out to me from season 2. His neck was flesh colored when it's not normally, so I thought that was hilarious, and I was like, I'm using that in a video. So basically it's just he has like this synthetic skin that just makes him look more human. Maybe he adds in like some contact lenses to make his I always forget what the white parts of your eyes are called, but like maybe make those white instead of his normal black, and he blends in. And this could actually like go down like an interesting plot point for Genos in the future, because like he was human presumably in the past, so it would make sense that maybe he wants to get back that form of humanity that he's lost, especially after he gets his revenge against the rampaging cyborg. Like, sure, he has a fairly fulfilling life being janitorial services and housekeeper for Saitama and a hero to all, but sometimes you just want to be yourself, right? So maybe he would want to do something like that. So like it's mostly just purely aesthetic and maybe just a bit of a crisis on his own, just trying to regain that humanity. Next up is monster muscles. Similar to like with the Elder Centipede armor, like taking leftovers from a monster attack and then applying it to his body in some way. Basically, this is making like synthetic muscles out of like the various viscera of muscles from monsters. I mean, they're very strong. And then if you start weaving them together and genetically modifying them into even stronger materials, why hasn't anyone done this before? I mean, other than, obviously Dr. Genos, but on the hero's side, I mean, like, you have all this material just lying around. I mean, I guess technically Metal Knight has kind of done this. With like taking over the alien ship, what was left of it and everything. So good on to him for kind of sparking the idea, I guess, but like not the organic side of monsters and whatnot. So Why not do that? So Genos would essentially just get like a physical buff. He's physically stronger, he could be faster, jump higher, all that good stuff. Um, so yeah, it would just make him more efficient. And plus, because it's organic or semi-organic, it can maybe have a healing factor, and then that just further allows him to not need constant repairs because he's self-repairing on some degree, right? Um, and then the final segment is super moves, and I have 4 ideas. With the electric generator, I kind of like offensive methods. Here's a couple, or a few ideas anyway. The pulse palm, basically like an EMP style like palm that like can shock you and everything, so it can disable machinery and zap organic matter into paralysis. This would be maybe like more long form, kind of like a like you see like these palm strikes that like hit further away than what they logically should. I could see something like that, like he's staring down a street and then he just goes boo, and then it's just like a ripple effect across, and like you see the lights going out and everything. That'd be awesome. Um, Next up is paralyzing punch. This is similar capability as before, except it's with a punch. And then maybe he kind of it's like Saitama Senpai punch. And it's like and it's a similar thing with like lights flickering and stuff, because if it's like a EMP blast, but then like if he punches a monster with it, it paralyzes them. So yeah, variants, but they're fun. Next up is the shock spear. This is combining the electric generator from before and the spear arm as well, combining them to sending an electric current through the spear arm. So now when he pierces, he also electrocutes. And like he could use it even if it doesn't make full on like piercing contact. It could still, it's like a cattle prod. So it's like, get along, little doggies, and then you've got Watchdog Man over there, and he's like, oh, kind of deal. So whatever, something like that. Next up, and finally, we have the burning spear. This is taking his core concept of the incineration cannons, the heat from it, mixing it with the spear arm. So basically it's just converting that heat into the where the spear arm is coming out, and then it becomes superheated to the point where it like, well, you see what his incineration cannons do. Well, now imagine he stabs someone and they just start melting from the inside. Or it could also have like a cutting capability as well, like a lightsaber. Like you see them, I think it was in the prequels when like Obi-Wan or it was Anakin and they were like cutting through a large metal door with their lightsabers. I could see a similar capability going on there. Maybe even the shock spear could do something like that as well, but the burning spear probably makes a lot more sense. But yeah, I think that's about all I have for today. Let me know what you thought of these ideas. Any ideas you've had, let me know down below. And yeah. I try to stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, upload them to YouTube the next day in that cycle. Trying to get the manga podcast with Griever back up. Go check out his channel. And yeah, like always, thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, Quiche-lings, roll out!